The throne room of Sylvanaris fell silent as King Thranduil rose from his ancient seat of living wood. His silver hair flowed like moonlight over his shoulders, and his eyes burned with a cold hatred that had been growing for 3,000 years. Around him stood the noble houses of the Elven realm, their faces masks of anticipation and fear. "The Alliance of Stars ends today," the Elven King declared, his voice echoing through the crystalline halls. "Humanity has grown too bold. They spread across the galaxy like a disease, consuming worlds that should belong to the elder races. Their ships darken our skies. Their colonies push against our borders. Their short lives breed ambition that threatens the very fabric of order." Lord Arundel, the youngest member of the council, stepped forward with concern on his face. "My king, the humans have been our allies for 800 years. They fought beside us against the Void Swarm. They bled with us at the Battle of Crimson Nebula. Is this truly wise?" King Thranduil turned his gaze upon the young lord, and there was no warmth in those ancient eyes. They were useful tools, nothing more. But a tool that grows too powerful becomes a threat. I have made my decision. Send word to all our fleets. The human worlds will burn, starting with their colony of New Haven. Let their screams be a message to the galaxy that the elves will not be replaced. 3 days later, the Elven Armada emerged from faster-than-light travel above New Haven. 50 warships arranged themselves in perfect formation, their silver hulls gleaming against the darkness of space. Below them, a world of 12 million humans went about their daily lives, unaware that death had arrived in the night. Admiral Kalindra commanded the flagship Eternal Light. She had lived for 2,000 years and had seen countless battles, but something about this mission troubled her heart. She pushed the feeling aside and opened communications with the planet. "People of New Haven, this is Admiral Kalindra of the Elven Star Navy. Your alliance with our people has been terminated by royal decree. You have 1 hour to evacuate your civilian population. After that, we will begin orbital bombardment. This is not negotiable." On the surface, Governor Marcus Chun stared at the communication screen with disbelief turning to horror. Around him, his staff erupted into chaos. 12 million people. 1 hour. It was impossible. "Get me a channel to Earth Command," Marcus ordered, his voice steady despite the fear gripping his chest. "And begin evacuation protocols immediately. Every ship, every shuttle, everything that can fly needs to be in the air in the next 30 minutes. The message reached Earth in 17 minutes, thanks to the quantum relay network that humanity had built across their territory. Admiral Sarah Okonkwo was in the middle of a routine briefing when her aide burst through the door with terror on his face. "Admiral, New Haven is under attack. The elves. They have declared war." Sarah felt the blood drain from her face. The elves were ancient, powerful, and possessed technology that humanity had never been able to match. Their ships were faster, their weapons more precise, their shields more resilient. In a straight fight, the human fleet would be destroyed. But Sarah Okonkwo had not risen to command Earth's defense forces by thinking in straight lines. "Get me every admiral in the fleet on a secure channel, now, and someone wake up the president." Within 40 minutes, while New Haven burned and evacuation ships desperately fled the Elven bombardment, the leadership of humanity gathered in a virtual war room. Their faces were grim, their hearts heavy, but there was something else in their eyes. Something the elves had never understood about the short-lived race they had dismissed as inferior. "They expect us to surrender," President James Morrison said, his voice cutting through the murmurs. "They expect us to beg for mercy, to accept whatever terms they offer. They believe that because they are older and stronger, we will bow." Admiral Okonkwo nodded. "They have 300 warships in their main fleet. We have 200. Their technology is approximately 40 years ahead of ours in most areas. By all conventional calculations, we cannot win this war." General Chen Wei of the Marine Corps leaned forward. "Then we do not fight conventionally." The humans talked through the night, They argued. They shouted. They mourned for New Haven, where despite heroic efforts, 4 million people died in the bombardment. But by morning, they had a plan. It was desperate, dangerous, and completely insane by any rational measure. It was perfectly human. King Thranduil received reports of New Haven's destruction with satisfaction. The humans had attempted to evacuate, proving their cowardice. They had sent no fleet to defend their people, proving their weakness. He ordered the Armada to advance to the next target, the industrial world of Forge Prime. What he did not know was that human ships had been moving in the shadows. Not the great warships that the elves could detect, but thousands of smaller vessels, freighters, mining ships, passenger liners. Every civilian craft that could be armed and crewed was being prepared for a mission that no sane species would attempt. Admiral Okonkwo stood on the bridge of the carrier Defiance, watching the tactical display. Around her, the entire human military fleet had gathered, but they were not heading toward the Elven Armada. They were heading for Sylvanaris itself. The elves believe war is about matching strength against strength, she said to her officers. They have fought that way for 10,000 years. The humans have only been fighting wars for a fraction of that time, and we learned something they never did. War is not about honor or tradition or proving superiority. War is about winning. The Elven home world had minimal defenses. Why would it need more? No enemy had ever been bold enough to strike at the heart of the Eternal Empire. The defense stations were ancient, ceremonial, maintained more for pride than function. When 200 human warships emerged from faster-than-light travel in orbit above Sylvanaris, the elves did not believe it at first. The humans should be defending their colonies. The humans should be hiding. The humans should be begging for peace. Instead, they were here, at the sacred homeworld, with weapons armed and targeting locks engaged. Admiral Okonkwo opened a channel that broadcast across the entire planet. People of Sylvanaris, your king has broken the alliance of stars. He has murdered 4 million innocent humans at New Haven. He believes that your long lives and ancient technology make you invincible. He is wrong. In his throne room, King Thranduil watched the human fleet with growing horror. He had committed nearly all his forces to the invasion of human space. The homeworld was defenseless. How? He whispered. How did they move so fast? How did they know? The answer was something he could never have understood. Humans did not think in terms of centuries or millennia. They thought in terms of days and hours and minutes. While the elves had been planning their next move according to ancient protocols, the humans had already acted. You have 1 hour, Admiral Okonkwo continued. Return your fleet to your borders. Release all human prisoners. Pay reparations for every life lost at New Haven. Or we will show you what humanity does to those who betray us. Lord Arundel burst into the throne room. My king, you must accept their terms. Our fleet cannot return in time. The homeworld has 20 billion citizens. We cannot sacrifice them for pride. King Thranduil's hands shook with rage. For 3,000 years, he had ruled the Elven Empire. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had believed himself above the petty struggles of lesser races. And now, humans were threatening his home, his people, his legacy. Call back the fleet, he said, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. Accept their terms. But Admiral Okonkwo was not finished. One more thing, King Thranduil. The Alliance of Stars will not be restored. You have shown us what elven friendship is worth. From this day forward, humanity walks its own path, and we will remember. We will always remember. The war ended before it truly began. The Elven fleet withdrew. Reparations were paid. Human prisoners were released. But the damage was done in ways that went far beyond ships and colonies. Across the galaxy, other races watched what had happened. They saw the ancient and mighty elves, humbled by a species less than a tenth their age. They saw humans, dismissed as primitive and short-lived, strike at the heart of an empire, and walk away victorious. The dwarven kingdoms of the asteroid belts sent ambassadors to Earth within a month. The aquatic Solari, who had avoided contact with all surface dwellers for centuries, requested trade negotiations. Even the mysterious Voidwalkers, beings of pure energy who had never spoken to any biological race, transmitted a single message to humanity. Interesting. King Farandil abdicated his throne 6 months after the war. The shame was too great. The Elven people, who had prided themselves on their superiority for 10,000 years, were forced to reckon with a new reality. They were not the masters of the galaxy. They were simply one more race among many. And humanity continued to grow. They did not become conquerors or tyrants. That was not their way. They built. They explored. They made friends and enemies and everything in between. They lived their short lives with an intensity that the long-lived races could never match. Admiral Okonkwo retired to a small house on the coast of Africa. She spent her remaining years teaching young officers, passing on the lessons she had learned. Her most important lesson was simple. Never underestimate humanity. Never assume that because we are young, we are weak. Never believe that because our lives are short, we do not matter. Because in the end, it is not the length of life that defines a species. It is what they do with the time they have. And humans, for all their flaws and failures, never stop fighting for what they believe in. The ancient alliance was shattered forever, but in its place, humanity forged something new, something stronger, something that would endure long after the elves had faded into memory and legend. They called it the human era, and it was only just beginning. Years passed, decades, centuries. The elves retreated to their home world, their empire shrinking as other races no longer feared their displeasure. They watched as humanity spread across the stars, building wonders that the elder races had never imagined. And sometimes, when elven children asked about the great alliance that had once existed, their parents would tell them the story. They would speak of a king's pride and a species that refused to kneel. They would speak of an hour that changed the galaxy. They called it the lesson of New Haven, and it was this: never mistake kindness for weakness. Never mistake patience for fear. And never ever declare war on humanity unless you are prepared to lose everything. The stars belonged to everyone now, and humanity had earned their place among them.